Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to today's video. So, something that's been on my mind for a while now is how we have mental models of the world, and that comprises of the lessons that we learned when we were young and the way we go through life, understanding how life works and our role in it. So that's what our mental model is in a simplified basis. And what happens is over time, we apply this model to life and it becomes the basis of our identity. So because we have this model of the world, we go through life in a certain way. And because we go through life in a certain way and get certain results, that becomes our identity of who we are based on those results, based on the responses, based on the way people respond to us. But it's all based on our mental models of the world. And there's going to come a time when your mental model of the world gets tested, either by other people or by life not necessarily going the way you want. And I've seen people respond to this in two ways. The first way is what we see a lot on social media and in more broad views of society, but to the extremes. And that's getting triggered over somebody having a different belief to you, attacking people, feeling like you need to hurt them or put them down based on their beliefs. I mean, it's just the belief that they have, but them having that belief threatens you so much that you actually become insecure in yours. And so for people who have those fragile mental models, they typically lash out in extreme ways. And that's indicative of the attachment to that mental model, but also the fragile nature of it. They can't accept hearing that their model may be wrong, because then that means that everything they've invested in, their identity, the way they've gone about life, who they have been for the past 20, 50, 60, 10 years might all be a lie. So they react in extreme ways because it hits a point in them that's very insecure. And so they can't have that, and they need to put the other person's belief down. The second way that I think people can respond, and this is a much healthier way, is to really look at that piece of information, that response, that result that they're getting through life at that moment, which counters what they believe, and then use that information to introspect and look at their life and look at their belief and see whether this piece of information that they've got, which goes against their current worldview and their mental model, can be integrated in a healthy way. Now, when that happens, there is inevitably a point where you have to understand and get to the point and get to the understanding that your current mental model is outdated, or part of it is outdated, and you need to adopt a new mental model or integrate new parts of a mental model. So the equivalent to this is having a street map of your local area from 20 years ago. It may still serve you now, but if you follow it, you'll probably end up in the wrong place, or there'll be information that you can't access because it doesn't exist in that map yet. And so our psyches and our minds work in very similar ways, where the experiences we have update those maps. And if we only conform to one belief, then our map stays fixed. And so there's a necessity for us to continually update our maps, update our mental models by the input that we get from the external world. Now, here's what I want to talk about today. We have these two extremes, or these two response types, and there's probably more. It's a spectrum. On the one hand, we have the extreme, the needing the other person to be wrong so we can be right. And on the other side, we have the belief that maybe this information is useful to me and I can use it in a way where I'm able to move through life in a more effective way. So it's a spectrum of those two. There may be more, and there may be different ways that these manifest, but that's typically how I've seen it. But all of these center around a core fundamental of learning the truth. Whether you're unconscious and you want to kill someone because you have a certain belief that they don't agree with, or whether you have a belief that you know could potentially be wrong and now you have information that could prove it wrong or right, that centers around the truth of reality. Most people are going to ignore reality. I can't stress this enough, that most people actually ignore reality. They will ignore statistics that is scientifically proven and can be replicated multiple times. They will ignore evidence that repeatedly happens in favor of how they feel, keeping their beliefs alive, wanting to be right, and anything that basically makes them feel safe in their current reality, even though it is completely wrong. And as I said, all of that centers around a certain truth that they're either willing to see or unwilling to see. And when you really think about it, the reality that we live in is reality. In as much as I personally have been on the spiritual journey, I've looked at life in a scientific way. I have a broad range of how people can subjectively as well as objectively look at life. And I think that oscillates throughout our lives and throughout the experiences and contexts that we're in, also shaped by the environment. But the core fundamental is that there is a certain truth to the life that we're living. We can look at that subjectively, but there is an objective truth. And we always need to be in search of that objective truth and open to the objective truth, because that allows us to interact with our objective reality in a way that doesn't blind us by having subjective opinions on what we think should be the reality. And so, I think it causes us a lot of pain when we see the truth, but we don't accept the truth. Or we see the truth, but we try to put it off for as long as possible so that maybe the truth will go away. But because it's the truth, it's never going to go away. You're just going to keep on learning that lesson in different ways until either the pain gets too much or you learn that lesson. But on the flip side of that, the great thing about that belief or this paradigm of thinking of things is that once you accept the truth, there's no more suffering, because you can move through life in a healthier way, in a way where, as cliche as it sounds, the truth sets you free. And what does it set you free from? An old, outdated paradigm, old, outdated mental models that may serve you in a egoistic way, or feeling like your attachments are still valid to a certain belief structure, but it doesn't serve you in moving forward in life. I think this is a topic I want to make for another video, but I think a lot of people get onto that spiritual journey and they use that to reinforce where they currently are in life and not necessarily become better. So it becomes almost a sort of identity, in the same way that one could find righteousness in anything. And so they then tend to not live up to their potential in the name of spirituality, which I think is not really spiritual, because you are given gifts, you are given a beautiful life to make whatever it is that you want. But if you don't achieve those things or don't experience those things, all in the name of giving them up because they're lower vibrations or not worthy of God, I think that may be the wrong way to go around things, but that's a topic for another video. What I want to stress in closing this video is that when you do see the truth, it's so important to look at it and see how it applies to your life. Because truly, when you do see the truth and you know deep down inside when a truth is staring you in the face, when you do see that truth and you don't accept it and put it off to the side or turn your back on it, just understand that it will come back over and over and over again until either you create a completely different reality and you completely dissociate from what you're actually experiencing and you start to become delusional in your own beliefs that are very subjective and not based in reality, or you realize that the mental models that you have are outdated and need to be improved given this truth that you're learning. And so it can be very painful. I know, speaking from experience, that letting go of beliefs that you've held on for 25 plus years of your life and then coming to the realization one day that that belief is just false feels like you're dying, and a part of you is dying. But there's something very liberating about that, because it's not that the last, for example, 25 years of your life was a lie or was a waste of time, but it's that you had to go through those 25 years in order to learn the lesson for your future, however long that may be. And so whatever age you're at, whatever stage of life you're at, whatever you're going through in life, be open to the truth. Seek out the truth. Don't conform yourself to a reality that feels good or keeps you safe, but keeps you deluded and unconscious to the possibilities of what you can create or the possibilities of what's possible out there. I think seek the truth. Embrace the pain of the truth, because it will set you free. It will allow you to have a healthier outlook on life. It will allow you to show up in a way that maximizes your experience. And it will be painful to let go of the attachments you have, the beliefs that no longer serve you. But it's necessary, and it's going to happen. You just choose whether it happens the first time or the 100th time. You choose how much pain it needs to cause you in order to realize that truth and realize that you need to integrate it in your life to become integrated in a healthier way. So embrace that truth, and the truth will set you free no matter how much pain you're going through. It will be worth it at the end of the day. And you'll always look back and even question like why you didn't believe that in the first place. Why couldn't you see or adopt this thing that was staring at you in the face? So that's just something I wanted to speak about. But thank you for listening to this video and watching this video. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you.